Hi, my name's Daryl, and if you have the halogen headlights on your Wrangler, and at night, if you're looking outside your windshield, it probably looks like this. Well, today, I'm going to show you some LED headlights from Suparee, so your lights look like this. Now, with these LED headlights, you also get halo lights as a daytime running light, and you get amber turn signals. So, I'm going to show you step by step on how to install the product. And so if you're a beginner like me, yeah, you're probably going to want to stay tuned. So let's take a look at the product. So the lights that I'm installing today are the Suparee 9-inch LED halo lights with amber turn signals. Now, one of the really nice things about these Suparee lights is that they're adjustable. So in the package, it comes with these bolts and also these springs that are installed as you put them in place. And because the springs are adjustable, it lets you basically take that light and either adjust it up or down or left or right. And that's really important because folks typically raise their Wranglers, and when they do that, their lights are too high and they blind the person right in front of them. That's not cool. Also, it could be the case that maybe the lights just need to be adjusted a little bit left or right for the oncoming traffic. You can do that with the Suparee lights as well. Now, you should know that I'm very much a Jeep Wrangler beginner, and I'm not a mechanic or really mechanically inclined in any way. So if I can do this, you can certainly do this. But the tools that you're going to need, we're going to have a flathead screwdriver, we're going to have a wire crimper, and we're going to have a 10mm socket, and we're also going to need this fuse jumper that's going to connect our halo lights to the battery. So really, before you start the install, what you're going to want to do is go into your garage and turn on the lights with your factory headlights and kind of mark where those headlights, the center of them are. That'll give you an idea on where your factory headlights are shining on your current height. I'm approximately 6 feet away from the end of the car to where the wall starts. And what I'm going to mark is kind of like the shiniest part of the light, which is really right about here. And this is for my left side. And then right over here, which is the right side. And then what I want to do is mark kind of up where the light kind of begins up at the top, as well as where it ends at the bottom. So I've got those points marked, and then when we get our new lights installed, we're going to try to get them to match up with that as closely as possible, so we kind of have the stock lighting where the lighting is supposed to be aimed at. All right, so the next step is to take this grill off, and taking the grill off is real easy. You basically have these 6 plastic clips, one right here, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then 6. So you can use some sort of a body pry tool to kind of remove them, but I'm just going to use a flathead screwdriver. So you just basically get down in there and open up that clip, and then open up the second piece of it right here, and then it'll pop right out. So I'm going to go ahead and do the rest of those. All right, now once those clips are removed, then it's just a matter of pulling this grill out. Now, I've seen some people when they're taking it out, it just comes out real easily, but also can be difficult. So I'm going to basically pull from right up here, and then pull from right down here, and then pull it straight out, and use a little bit of force. Okay, that wasn't too bad. And then I'm going to do the same thing over on this other side. Okay, got one more little one to pop out. Okay, and that's pretty much it. You can see that these little connectors right here are what connect it up. So all of these basically correspond to these little holes down here. It's actually pretty easy to pull off. All right, our next step is to remove the headlight assembly, and you have these 3 10mm bolts, one here, and then one here, and then one here, and so we'll remove that, and that assembly can pull right out. real easy. And then here's the factory connector right here. All right, so this is the Suparee right-hand light, and you can see that the brackets match up to the regular brackets, or to the regular mounting points on the regular light. So let's go ahead and put the factory connector into our Suparee light, and then we can test the right headlight just to make sure it works. Okay, and that does snap nicely back into place. Okay, so after I got the right headlight installed, basically it's the same process for the left headlight. So now both LED lights are connected. Before we do any other steps, we just want to make sure that the LED light actually works. So let's turn on the lights, just make sure that we can see them. So the headlights work, and you don't need to do anything else. If all you want to do is just upgrade your halogen headlights to LED headlights, you can just bolt it back up and be done with it. But these lights have some additional features. So you have your halos for the daytime running lights, and then you also have a different colored halo and an amber colored halo for the turn signals. So if we want to do those, we have to do some extra wiring. All right, so here's one of the wires that they give you. This piece of it right here is what connects to the actual light itself. Okay, our next step is then to take the wire that we've exposed, and we want to put it into our jumper. Okay, so this is our jumper, and this is where the wire goes, right into here. So we put that in. Okay, and after that's in, then we basically want to crimp it right here. So we get our crimping tool. Okay, and I'm going to use the red on my crimping tool. All right, so the next thing that we need to do is we need to identify the fuse for the heated seats. And so if I look down here at my diagram, it's going to say that fuse number 57 and 58, which are right here, are for my heated seats. Okay, and that correlates with these two 20 amp fuses right here in the fuse box. And so basically what you want to do is take your handy dandy fuse puller, and I'm going to go with this one right here. I think that is number 58. So I'm going to get in here and pull that fuse right out. Okay, so this is the cable that we made, and this is the fuse that I just pulled out. Okay, so I'm going to put this fuse into the bottom as this fuse connects, and as it goes up, first it's going to hit this fuse right here, okay, because that's the existing fuse that was there. And then we're going to basically put one other fuse so that our lights are fused. I'm just going to use another 20 amp fuse. I think the lights only require a 10 amp fuse, but I'm going to go ahead and use this 20. And then we insert this fuse jumper into that existing fuse location. So after that's complete, this is what you have right here. And we basically want to plug that into the lights just to check to make sure that now our halo lights are working as well as our regular LED lights. So if you notice, we have this yellow light or the orange one, which I think are kind of like for the turn signals. And then here's the white cable or the gray cable, which I believe is for the regular halo lights. And so I'm going to plug this one in. So we're going to use this for our daytime running lights for the halos, and then we're going to plug it into this connector right here. Now that's in place, and now let's go ahead and test it. So it looks like the wiring that I did to the fuse jumper worked, and the daytime running lights are working. Now these are halo daytime running lights, and I think they're really cool in the circular pattern. All right, so now let's talk about what could be one of the most difficult parts of this job, which is running the wiring and make it kind of look neat. And most importantly, you just don't want it to be really noticeable to your dealer. You don't want to have something when they're looking at the fuse box. And so let me show you how I did the wiring. All right, so this is the fuse box right here. If you notice it's covered. You can't really see much coming out of it. You do see this little white wire, which is what I ran, and it comes down and kind of underneath there, you can see that. So I'm trying to run it underneath things as best as I can. And then I run it behind here and to where the lights are. Now, here's the little connector for where the lights will connect. Now, this little area right here is where we're actually going to extend the wiring. So I'm going to show you this in just a second. We're going to need to add a wire extender, and this wire is going to go to the other headlight, so the passenger side headlights. So it runs down through here, kind of behind the grill, and I kind of zip tied it so it doesn't move very much, and then it runs over here and then back behind this light, and that's where it terminates right there. The next thing we need to do is have to add the extension cord to this wire right here. So let's go ahead and do that. All right, so the idea with this is this takes one cable and then adds an extension to that cable. So what you're going to want to do is take the cable that is running from the fuse box to the first light, and you're going to put it in here. And then you push down on it, and you can use like something like a flat head to kind of push that down in there if you want to. That's one way it can make this a little bit easier. I'm just using my fingernails to push it down into there. All right, so now that you have it in there, it just kind of runs up and down because it's in this hole right here. And then what you're going to do is take your other wire, and this is what's going to join the two wires together. And then you take your other wire and you put it in this other hole, and what you'll notice is that on one side it's kind of blocked so that it isn't able to run through, and on the other side it's open. You put it into the side that's open, basically push it in all the way until it gets to the area that's closed off over on this side, and then you simply take this tab and close it, which is then going to take this metal prong, and it's going to penetrate both the wires and kind of join them together. And we close it around. Probably the best solution is just to kind of push on it on something that's already solid. You can use your weight instead of your fingers. And I'm actually going to use just some pliers to finish it up. Okay, and then you have a nice real solid connection between those two wires. Now, for safety's sake, you might want to put some electrical tape around that connection just to make sure that it's a real solid connection and it doesn't come apart. So I'm going to do that next. All right, so both of my lights and my halos are working properly. So now I can reinstall the lights and then get them adjusted. Now, one thing, I am not choosing to use the blinkers on the LED lights. This is the first time that I've done this install, and I'm not comfortable yet actually splicing into my turn signals and then running them into the lights. So that might be a future project that I do. I just didn't feel comfortable doing it this time, but I'm just going to use the LED lights and the halo lights. Okay, now comes the fun part. One of the things that Suparee does a really nice job of doing is they give you these little springs, which makes the install of the lights adjustable. But the challenge is getting the springs and the screws on with only a couple of pairs of hands. Not exactly sure how this is going to work, so I'm going to give it a shot. So I'm going to start off by putting the springs on each screw, and then I'm going to hold them with one hand. Okay, so 2 springs are on. Let's see if I can get the 3rd spring on, which I've successfully done. Now the question is, how do I get it in here? All right, so I think I figured out the strategy for getting these things in at the same time. So you kind of put the screws on, you put the springs on, and you do your thing. The washers for the screws go up against the screw. Then what you want to do is, as you're starting to work this in, start on the left top first, because that's the one where you have really the most play. And as you start to screw that in, the other ones will get closer, and then they'll just kind of fit in. That's at least what I'm hope's going to happen. So I'm working that in, and then as I'm working that in, I'm going to start working these other ones in as well. And you'll know you've got it right because there's a little notch that these two fit into. So if they're fitting into that little notch, then you know you're on your way to getting them right. So I'm gonna put them in all the way, and then after I'm done putting them all the way, then I'll go up against the garage and then I can make adjustments. Okay, so that's done. So I'm just gonna do the same thing on the other side and I'll be back. All right, so now it's time to compare the stock halogen lights to the new LED lights. Looking at the lights here, we're actually in pretty good shape. On the left headlight, the driver's side headlight, this is the focus of the brightness and it's centered. But on the right one, this should be the center based on stock halogen headlights. But in reality now, the center is actually over here. So what I'm gonna do is adjust the headlight with the bolts that are on the springs, and I'm gonna move this headlight over just about 2 inches or so, and then we're gonna be perfect. I am gonna turn this one counterclockwise, and that should slowly move the light to the left. So get in there and turn it, and you'll be able to see that starting to move. I can actually see it on the headlight moving, and I'm gonna keep going till it's kind of right in the center, which now it is. Yeah, and so that's one of the great things about this Suparee is you're able to make adjustments. When you change your Wrangler and you lift it, those lights are gonna jump up quite a bit, and so you really got to point them back down in order to be safe for the other drivers on the road. All right, so this is what the halogen headlights look like, and here's what the new LED lights look like. And I think you can clearly see my wife. Hey Nicole, wave. And you can actually see her. So I really want to thank Suparee for sending me these headlights. As you can see, they are really easy to install and they're relatively inexpensive. So if you go to their webpage right now, they're listed at $179.99, and Suparee is going to give me a discount code that'll list in the video's description that'll save you even more.